Welcome to the Vinyl Cutter Training Module. My name is Jeff Abel and I'm an instructor in the Engineering and ECAD departments at Century College. The objective of this training module is simple. It's to take a student who's never used the vinyl cutter before and give them enough information and know-how to be able to create their own custom designed vinyl decal in the Century College Fab Lab. To find out more information about the Century College Fab Lab, please visit the website century.edu/fablab. To learn more information about vinyl cutting, please consider taking the class ECAD 1025, How to Make Almost Anything. To get started, we have a Roland GX-24 vinyl cutter. It can handle material widths from 2 inches to 27 inches wide. The vinyl can cut sheet vinyl to make informative or decorative vinyl decals. The sheet vinyl comes in a variety of different colors and has an adhesive backing on one side. Most of the decals we deal with are a single color. Some advanced users have been able to make multicolor decals, but we're going to focus on just a single color decal. So let's go over the overall process. What we're going to do is we're going to pick the vinyl that we want. We're going to load that into the machine. We're then going to come to the computer. We're then going to load our graphics file. We're going to process it, make sure all the settings are correct. We're going to print it. Once it's printed, it will then start cutting on the machine. Once it's done cutting, we're going to remove it from the machine, remove any unwanted vinyl, apply our transfer tape, and then we will have our final decal. The first step is to select the color vinyl that you would like to use. In this case, I've selected a black vinyl. We're going to load this into the machine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the roll, have it unroll from the top, and we're going to place that in the rack. There's some rollers in the back that this sets into, and we're going to take the vinyl and slide it through the back of the machine so we can feed it all the way through the front. This sometimes will get caught. You'll just need to pick this up and slide it all the way through here. The next thing we need to do is we want the rollers to be close to the edge of the material, but we also need the rollers in the white area. So we're going to just slide those over. And in this case, you may need to slide the vinyl left or right if it's not loaded in there correctly. You also want to make sure the roll is fairly straight. If your vinyl decal is very big and it starts rolling out a lot of material, it'll track off. So make sure it's just straight. Once your rollers are in the right spot, you can lift the lever, which will then apply the pressure and hold the vinyl sheet in place. Next thing we're going to do is then we're going to turn the machine on. We just press the button and it will turn on. You'll hear it start up. Next, it's going to ask us, it says select sheet and roll as default. So we're going to say yes, we have a roll. So we're just going to press the enter key. Once we press the enter key, it's going to sense that there is a sheet in there. And the next bit of information that we need is on the display. It says width 13.6 inches. That is our usable width that we can use. And we'll use that information once we start setting up our graphics file. So next, let's set up our graphics file. First, I've loaded my graphic file in CorelDRAW. Here I have a Fab Lab logo that I'm going to be manipulating. The first thing we want to do is set up our page size to match what is on the vinyl cutter. If you remember, we had 13.6 as our page width. So we're going to set our page width to 13.6. And since our graphic is fairly small, I'm going to just make my page size just larger than that. And if I click on this, I can see that it's a 3-inch diameter. So I'm going to make my page size, click off of that, make my page height. I'm just going to do 4 inches. And now I have my page here. So I'm going to move my graphic back onto my usable area. So now, next thing we need to do is prepare our graphic to make sure that we have it all set so we don't end up with any double cuts. Double cuts are when the cutter tries to cut the same line twice, and we don't want that to happen. So the first thing we want to do is check to see if we have a fill on with no outline. And in this case, we have a uniform fill on our object, and we have an outline that says none. So in this case, this graphic is okay to use. The alternative to this is we can turn off of the fill, and we can turn the outline to a hairline. And now when we do that, we can actually see the line on the screen is what's going to be cut. We won't necessarily see the fill, but this is the alternative. So we want a fill with no outline, or we want no fill with a hairline outline. So this graphic is basically set to go. In this case, we could actually copy this and make multiple on the screen here, so we could put 3 or more on here. But in this case, I just want to make 1. And in this, what I'll do here is I'll put this over in the center. One thing that can be done to make the graphics a little bit easier to work with removing the vinyl is that we can put a rectangle around here, and I will put a rectangle around this unit and click that down. Now again, on this rectangle, I want the outline to have a hairline width, so I need to set that hairline in our object properties, and I'll pull this in just a little bit, make it a little bit closer, and now we're good to go. So I have hairline for all of the edges that I want cut. At this point, this graphic is ready to be printed, so we need to make sure that we get the properties set for the printing. So now we'll go up, we'll do File, Print. We're going to select the printer, which is the Roland GX-24. Once we've selected that, we need to go to Preferences. The default is going to tell us the size. We have a roll in there, but we want the size here to match our page size that we've used in CorelDRAW. Now, the first thing we need to do is click the units over to inches, and now we have our cutting area, the width and the length. So the width we set up as 13.6, and our length is the height that we use, which is 4 inches. We also have a rotate command down here. We're going to say the rotate is off. There's only special conditions where we'll need to do that, which is outside of the scope of this video. So we can say OK to this. Once we say OK, next thing we want to do is do a print preview. That looks like what we wanted. If you don't see your object on the screen, your page size is probably not correct. But in this case, my graphic is in the center. It's centered on my page. It looks good. It should be all set to go. So at this point, we're ready to hit print. And we can click print, and then it'll start printing. Now that it's done printing, we're going to remove it from the machine. So the first thing we're going to do is lower the lever to release the vinyl sheet. We're going to pull the vinyl sheet out past where our vinyl was cut. We're then going to take a pair of scissors and then cut off our vinyl. At this point, we'd want to unroll or roll the sheet back up and put our vinyl roll away. Turn the machine off. Now we're ready to process our cut vinyl sheet. First thing we're going to need to do is remove all of the vinyl that is not needed on our sheet. So there's a few things that we have. We've got tweezers, we've got our X-Acto knife that we'll be using to do this. First thing is we're going to start peeling up all of the vinyl that is on the periphery. So we can start peeling it up. We're going to peel it away. If you peel it back at a low angle, it tends to peel back better. And in this case right here, we've got our very corner of our box, and I'm going to hold it down with my pair of tweezers so that when I pull it back, it is left there. I'll hold it down, and I can pull this all the way off. So you can see that box allows me to pull off this large sheet of vinyl without having to get into the detail work. And we're just going to set that aside. Now I'm going to remove the rest of this box without peeling up any of the vinyl that I want of my decal. So I'm going to use my tweezers to hold the edge down as I peel this back. So as I pull through there, it will keep that down. I'll hold that down. This is the tricky part. Sometimes you'll start to peel up some of the vinyl that you want to keep. You'll just need to press it back down. Pull this all the way off here. Just keep going all the way around. Now we're left with just the vinyl for our decal. The next thing that we're going to do is that we need to be able to apply this to an object, we need to transfer this vinyl to our object, and we're going to use that, or to do that, we're going to use our transfer tape. We have our roll of transfer tape here. And what we want to do is we want to peel off enough of this material to be able to cover our decal. So in this case, I'm going to just pull back a certain amount. We could use a pair of scissors to do this, but in the past it gums up our scissors, so one of the easier ways to do it is to just take an X-Acto knife and just cut this off. There's a lot less gumming up of our scissors if we do that. Just be careful, don't let it touch back. It will stick to itself pretty well. Now what we want to do is apply our transfer tape to our decal. So we want to make sure that we can get all the way over it, and we're just going to apply it and roll it on smooth. We don't want to have any folds, creases, or bubbles. So I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to just roll this down carefully over my decal. So there's no folds, no bubbles. Now I'm outside of that. Now I'm going to use my pressure plate and just push that down so I can squeegee out any bubbles that do form. Bubbles, small bubbles are okay at this point. All we want to do is make sure that we push this in so the transfer tape is adhering to the vinyl as best as it can. So at this point, we have our decal all done. If you don't want to apply it right away, you can cut off some of the excess edges here and keep this for later. Now you have your decal. But let's say we're ready to apply this. I'm going to apply this decal to my surface here. I want to make sure my surface is clean. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off the transfer tape that has the vinyl on it. So I'm going to peel the backing off here, and now I'm going to start to peel this up. I'm going to watch this to make sure that as I peel up my transfer tape that the vinyl is coming up also. If it isn't coming up, I'm going to go back and push it in with my pressure plate again. But I'm going to peel this all the way up. Now I have my decal. Now I'm going to, again, this is the spot we want to be careful with. We want to make sure that we apply it to the surface nice and smooth. So again, no folds, no creases, no bubbles. This is where we really want no bubbles. Push it down, get it in place. Once it's in place, we're going to push it with our pressure plate so the vinyl adheres to our surface really well. It flattens it out, so if you do have any minor bubbles or creases, sometimes you can work it out with this also. So once we have that pushed in there, now we're ready to remove our transfer tape. So we'll peel up our transfer tape. Now in this case, what we want to do is watch to make sure we're not peeling up any of our vinyl. If our vinyl starts to peel up, we want to push this back, and again, push it in there better. But in this case, it's all coming up really well. Peel that all the way off. We then discard our transfer tape. Sometimes with the backing here, sometimes it just doesn't hurt to just push that down just to make sure everything is nice and secure, that it didn't loosen up as you pulled it off, the transfer tape off. Now we have our completed vinyl decal.